Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm poking the bear.
Poking the bear. He's dragging up Nixon. Well, because the thing is, Nixon is the only person that could have gone. I mean, look at it.
Hey,
hold on. I'm going to finish this up.
No, because there's no context. Hold on. Stop for a second.
Hang on, because
bringing up the conversation.
Nixon was the only one that could do it because it was the Democrats that got us into that quagmire in the first place.
Doc.
That's all I'm saying.
Right. Thank you, Doc, for bringing up something that we were talking about over the break with no context. Folks, I'm sorry that you have no idea what he's talking about. But what we were talking about were Republican candidate reactions to the Donald Trump plan. No, seriously, no one knows what you just talked about. Like at all. Nixon, we were talking about Donald Trump. So Scott Walker comes out and says ending birthright citizenship is a good idea. Jeb Bush comes out and says that, well, you know, we've got to do something, and Donald Trump has changed the conversation. Mealy mouthed Jeb Bush. They're falling all over themselves to sort of mushmouth agree because, as we'll get to later in the show, they saw what happened to Rick Perry when he took shots at this guy.
Yes, everybody took a shot at him. Really plummeted.
What do you think? I mean, these are politicians who are serious people who have had serious ideas, advocating for at least the amendment, if not full-on repeal of the 14th Amendment. Something has been with us since the Civil War. I just, what is going on with the Republican run right now, the race right now?
Well, I will tell you that, you know who Frank Luntz is, right?
I do.
He did a very small sample survey of about 30 people that were ardent Trump supporters. And he even played them video clips and everything else about how Trump is a flip-flopper, and all of his supporters all went, we don't care. The problem is these people, and let's face it, these people at this level are in this hunt for themselves. They don't have any interest in serving people or the United States. They want to win it. And they saw what happened to Rick Perry, who had his own problems to begin with, but at least was competitive, and he went from competitive to nothing. And I mean overnight. So they're just trying to get on the Trump bandwagon, a lot like Hillary in healthcare. When Barack Obama started talking about healthcare, suddenly Hillary started talking about healthcare. So they're trying to pick a winning position. Here's a lesson I learned running in politics, and I've never been successful. All right, but you need to be true to yourself, and these other people are not true to themselves. If they were true to themselves, they would have brought this up before. The other thing is, as you know, there's a lot of problems with the 14th Amendment. The reason it was passed, all that other stuff.
A lot of problems, right? Like what?
Well, in order to make, well, from what I understand, and you're the expert, it was passed mainly to be able to get the American Indians so that if they were born here in the United States, that they had citizenship. Beforehand, you had to go through a process to become a citizen. Well, part of the Indian argument was, you guys don't belong here, and when we're born, we're part of a different country.
Well, no,
that was part of it.
And I
don't want to get into that discussion, but there's a lot of people that disagree with the 14th Amendment. I mean, I heard that a lot when I was out campaigning, particularly from right-leaning libertarians.
Yeah, this is. I don't know what to do with that information, because the 14th Amendment guarantees certain rights and procedures to every citizen of the country, guarantees that every person born here is a citizen of the country, and guarantees equal protection under the law, and that those federal protections through the 14th Amendment are bootstrapped into the states, because we fought a civil war where one of the components of the politics. Well, like I
said, I don't want to argue about the merits of it. I'm just saying that that is what, what the feedback.
Sure,
right or wrong.
And well, it's okay. Anyway, it's wrong. But that's the whole. I mean, to put paid to this idea, and I suppose that would make sense. And it also sort of makes sense if we're talking about undermining a key provision of the 14th Amendment. It does make sense that an Alabama Senator, Jeff Sessions, was the one that helped him write this proposal in the first place. That makes sense. I'll just leave that there to kind of flower as it will. So the Republicans falling all over themselves to align with their leader at this point. I mean, does this? I gotta say, he has gotten some criticism Donald Trump, that is, about not being a substantive person, about not being a serious candidate, about being a protest vote, basically. So he takes a swipe at doing something from a policy standpoint. And I would rate it a swing and a miss. Doc, I mean, what would you think? Other than anybody can make a conversation nowadays in the 24-hour news cycle. Anybody could say something weird or say something controversial or whatever and get a lot of press and get a lot of echo chamber stuff going on. So, which is how Donald Trump has built his support so far, in my opinion. What do you think about? I mean, aside from what you think about the reality of the proposal, has he been successful in trotting this out? Does he look more serious now, or does he look the same?
Oh, I think Trump definitely looks more serious. He's taking on a tough, divisive issue. I mean, it is a tough, divisive issue. And he's the only one that I can remember in history has come out and said, all right, you want to know what my position is? This is my position. This is what I think we ought to do. I think part of this 14th Amendment plan is going to be we're going to keep a lot of things in place that are good about it. We're going to reject the automatic you're a citizen here. That
if you're born here.
If you're born
like
here.
Every other place in the world. So what does that mean?
Automatic birthright isn't everywhere else in the world.
No, basically if you're born here, you're not an American.
Yeah, you see, and that creates a lot of problems.
That's what that means.
Yeah,
that's exactly what that means.
But the thing is at least somebody's talking about it. People are now talking about it. People are trying to get on board. But they shouldn't be.
That's the whole point, because it's stupid. And I sound really like, and I apologize for being so reductive and so strident about it. But this is an idea that should be okay in the discourse of ideas in the marketplace that we've set up for how we speak about these sorts of things. We take in all comers to evaluate the good from the bad. This one is not like choosing the slightly more ripe avocado from the slightly less ripe avocado. This is choosing the rotten plum versus the not like the nice plum.
But what
That's
about
what it squishes in the hand. When
don't you think at least one parent should be an American citizen to be considered an American citizen? I mean, automatically upon birth.
Why? What does that? What difference does that make?
Well, because
you're born here.
Yeah, but this goes back to being global. This globalization stuff that we're all one big happy family, and we're not. There are different countries with different rules for their citizens. The problem is from my perspective, people come over here, have their baby, and suddenly, let's say they're Italian, they're over here on vacation, something happens, they deliver the child here, now you have dual citizen. What are you going to do that for? It creates a lot of problems for families internationally that when this happens.
Like what?
Well, just like what I said, you have dual citizenship, right?
Well, first of all, the United States doesn't recognize dual citizenship. So that child, they take the child back to Italy or whatever, they're just visiting or whatever.
Yeah, but it's an American citizen if it's born right here. And that's what the problem is. How do you define that? How do you define, well, if you have one American parent and the other parent is not American, then you've denied, I mean, there's a lot of problems. You've denied access to that child by simply fleeing back to the United States having that child. I mean, there's a lot of international, not conflict, but there's a lot of international problems when you have people from mixed countries having babies. And then you have a divorce and everything else. That's a giant issue. I don't want to bring up my cousin Deb, but Deb has some international issues about
that's not why he proposed it, number one.
Well, not I understand
all.
That.
Like even a little bit.
But you don't think it's a problem having anchor babies? Whole families coming up here.
First of all,
without going through the process and suddenly just having a baby here and now everybody gets to stay.
You have no evidence that. First of all, that's not how it works. Second of all, you have no evidence that people intend to do that. And third of all,
when I see pictures of people running across the border 9 months pregnant, right? And heading straight to the emergency room. Because they don't want to deliver
a child in the desert? Okay.
Well, what are they doing in the desert? I mean, they're in a thing. Well, we have a call. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.